Well, hi, and welcome to Chapter 9. Chapter 9 is going to be kind of a fun um, chapter to cover because we've got this thing called a favicon. So what a favicon is, it's a icon that will appear in the tabbing or in the up in the top part of the screen. I've got an example over here. I do this one website for a friend of mine, and I put a little favicon. If I can get this to kind of come down a little bit. But if you kind of notice up here, there's a little tiny motorcycle. Okay, that's called a favicon, and a favicon is basically saying that there is a picture that's going to appear at the top. And you notice there's a whole bunch of different items up here that have favicons basically working. Here's my personal website. I've actually got the Harley-Davidson logo as my favicon, which is kind of cool. So what is a favicon? Well, a favicon it's an icon. It's basically a very, very small pixelated file. So again, this chapter talks about where favicons found, how are they used. It kind of gets into the whole spiel. If we look down here, it says favicons displayed in the address bar on IE, Safari, and Opera. For Firefox and Chrome, they are basically displayed, I believe, in the tab, because I'm using Chrome up here. Are they displayed in the links bar? Yes. IE, no. Safari, no. Opera, yes. Bookmarks, Firefox and Chrome, yes. IE, no. So if I come over here to my bookmarks and I click on personal pages, again, we can see all of the different favicons of all of the different websites. Do they appear in the tabs? Yes. They appear in the tabs for Firefox and Chrome, but they do not appear on IE or Safari. Can you drag them to the desktop? Firefox, no, but Chrome you can. So apparently you can copy this and, I don't know how that works. Anyways, yeah, I have to kind of play around with that. So what are the image formats for a favicon? It says Internet Explorer 5 launched favicons, but it's supported by the ICO image file extension. So it has to have a .ico behind it. All browsers aside from IE support GIF, JPEGs, and PNG files. All except IE, Firefox, and Safari also support SVG files. We covered that, I believe, in chapter 4 or 5. So if we were to look at an ICO, basically there it has the ICO image. So if we were to just basically do something like this, we could basically just come to a website, and here are a bunch of ICO files that we can download. So I click on it, and I can basically download it and save it as a PNG file. We'll talk about PNGs here in just a second. Okay, so we can see that, so here's some other, so if we look at this guy, I don't think it tells me the dimensions, but it's 128 by 128, 96 by 96, 72 by 72, and it goes all the way down to 16 by 16. So what we have to know is we have to know what is the browser we're trying to display this favicon on. And again, this will make a lot more sense here in just a second. So where do we store the favicon? Well, I would highly suggest wherever you store your images for your website, I would put the favicon in there as well, and then you just basically point to it. So you have to put it within the head, so between the head tag and the end head tag, we're going to put a link tag in there, and it's got REL, short icon, and then our href basically tells us where it's basically stored at. Now here's what's nice about this is we could actually point to a completely different website. So it doesn't actually have to be on your website. You can actually have it on a different website. I don't suggest doing that because if that person happened to move that icon, that favicon somewhere else, then you basically don't have access to it anymore. They're very, very small. So you'd basically do that. So very, very simply, link, rel, shortcut icon, href, and again, if it's in an image folder within your website, make sure it basically says image / and then the name of that favicon. So how the heck do we create a favicon? Well, the book's going to go into all of this stuff in Photoshop, and again, we're trying to do this without Photoshop. We're trying to do it with this nice free graphic program called PIXLR. There's also another one called Sumo I found out, Sumo Paint, and it actually installs as an extension in Chrome, and when you click on it, I can actually click on Sumo Paint, and it has kind of the same look and feel as Pixlr. Again, if you want to play around with it, I do notice the swatches are more Photoshop-like. So when we talked about swatches in one of the chapters, this is more in line with what that's all about. But pretty much everything else is in line with Photoshop CS and Pixlr. So anyway, it's something you might want to play around with. Okay, so here's what they're showing. So each one of these is basically, we'll consider a pixel. So each one of these squares is a pixel. Notice that this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 by 6 pixel. And that's really how granular we're going to get. We're going to get really, really down into that particular item. So here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here we get into, this is what's called a 16 by 16 pixel. So if I actually count across this way, there's 16. If I count down, there's 16. So this whole thing is a favicon. It's some logo. I believe it's the logo that we were looking at right up here in the beginning. So there's the logo we're looking at, and this is what it looks like if we were to edit it. So it's very, 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 very zoomed in, so to speak. So we'll get more into how to edit this thing, but if we look, there's this nice website called Convertigo, and what Convertigo does is it allows us to drop in a file, a picture of whatever you want, and it will convert it into a favicon. Now here's kind of the good and bad with that. Again, realize it's 16 pixels by 16 pixels. We're actually going to be doing ours in 48 by 48, so we have a little more resolution than a 16 by 16. But again, we can drop our PNG or ICO files here, and then basically it'll actually convert it for us. Another one that is there is that Codillion. Codillion, your guess is as good as mine. And here you can actually create one as well, or it's a nice little app to create a favicon. Now realize a favicon is going to look nothing like this. Okay. So a couple of different, here's another one. It looks like Favicon CC. If you go there, again, you can actually, I can say import an image here. I can choose a file. Let's say I wanted to use this as my favicon, and I can then upload it. And that's what it looks like as a favicon. So does that kind of look like what we wanted it to? I do not know. So probably too much detail in that picture to make it to a favicon. So it's another thing, excuse me, that's another thing you have to really look at, is this thing is going to be really kind of zoomed out, and so you're going to lose a lot of detail. So again, if we look at the picture I was trying to look at, is it was a cab with a cabbie helping a woman to the car. Does that look anything like that? No, it doesn't. So again, be very conscious of what it's basically doing there as well. So here they are. They've basically created these three objects in Photoshop. They probably did this at normal resolution because those really look nice. Or they've taken the existing icon and they've brought it into Photoshop, and then they've reduced the size down to 256. Okay, and then they've gone in a little bit further, and so here they can export it as a GIF. Again, we're not going to go into all this, so let me show you what I basically did. Okay, so I'm going to go into Pixlr, and I've downloaded a file. Where is it now? Well, let me find a file real quick. So let me see if I can grab, I just want something very simple here. I'll see if I can grab this one. Okay, so I'm going to grab this guy, I'm going to save it. So I'm going to save it as, save image as, and I'll save it to my computer. Then I'm going to bring it into Pixlr. So I come in here, and here is that astronaut. So I'm going to just grab the astronaut. Whoop, wrong selector. And I'm going to do a copy. I'm going to do a new image. I'm going to create it from a clipboard. I'm going to make it transparent as well. So I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to use my magic wand. I'm going to select this, hit delete. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my magic wand. I'm going to select this, hold down my shift key, select down here, try to select a lot more. There we go. And then I'm going to invert. I'm going to click edit, invert my selection so I have just the astronaut. I'm going to click edit copy, do an edit or file new image. Again, keeping all of that. And then I'm going to have to go in and clean this up a little bit. So let me zoom in and kind of grab my eraser. Let me make sure it's got a nice sharp edge to it. So you kind of get the gist here, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time cleaning this, but just realize that that's, whoop, I did too much there. And I need to make my eraser a little bit smaller to get in here and whoop, and I don't know why I'm doing this, because the favicon is going to lose a lot of this. So now I'm going to do a file save. I'm going to save it as a PNG. I'll call it astronaut, and click OK, and there we have it. So now what I can do then is I'm going to click on image, image size, and I'm going to change the height to 42. I click OK. Now as you can see, we've really lost a lot of the detail. So I'm going to go ahead and turn around and do a file, save. I'm going to call it astronaut SM for small, and I'm going to leave it as a J. You have to leave, it has to be a PNG. I click OK, and there it is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go wherever that picture is, and I'm going to go into that. I'm going to rename it. So I do a right click, I click rename, and I'm going to change the PNG to ICO. I hit the enter key. So do you want to change it? Yes. We do lose our little thumbnail, but that's okay. I'm going to then do a cut, do a right click, click cut, and I'm going to go over to chapter 8 where we did the astronaut, and I'm going to just paste this in there, the same place. So there's my astronaut sm.ico. And then I'm going to come over here to the book, and I'm going to copy this code right here. I'm going to click copy. I then go into the index.html, so I'm going to click open with Notepad, and when it comes up while I'm here in the head, I'm going to come down a line and I'm going to bring that guy in. Whoop. And I'm going to rename it as astronaut.sm.ico. It's got Ariel's shortcut icon. I basically hit File, Save. Now again, I would probably, in a real world situation, I would do image. Again, I would put all my images in an image file folder. Let me click Save. And then over here, I would create a new folder called Images. And my ICO would go inside there. Okay, so now when I double click on this guy, it's really kind of hard to see, but I do have an astronaut as a favicon up here, and there it is. Ooh. Again, you have to be very, very careful on how much detail is in that picture. And also, since it was white, it basically is going to be washed out by the background. So you have to be very, very careful there as well. So what I would probably need to do is, and here somehow, have some kind of an outline around that picture. Let me do an edit undo. I would probably make this outline a little darker around here, and so that the feet would stand out, because as you can see, it's really hard to see that astronaut right there. It really truly is. If I think if I change my resolution, I might be able to see it a little bit better. But that astronaut is really hard to see. But we do have a favicon. Okay. Now another favicon I could use. Let me do this. I actually created one earlier out of the Ferrari. So let me do this. I'm going to go to my temp folder I have, and oh, what did I do with it? Oh, I must have deleted it. Shoot. Let me see if I still have it in my trash can. And I do. So let me grab that guy and let me put it back into put it right in here. So now if I come over, let me go back into the code. And let me change that from astronaut to Ferrari. Whoop. I think Ferrari's got 2 letters. I only spelled it with 1. Nope, I don't want to do that. I'm going to click File, Save. Now I'm going to come back over here to my astronaut. I'm going to do a refresh. And now it's kind of hard to see, but it shows up a little better. There is the Ferrari symbol. Okay. It's got the red with the yellow box with the black horse in the center. Again, not really easy to see. That motorcycle is easy to see. The Harley Davidson is really easy to see. And that's really about all you're going to basically get out of a favicon. We don't want, again, too much detail. That really, I can see it, but it's really hard to make out what it truly is. So if we come down here, it talks about So here's this thing called the Apple Touch icon. So notice we've got our REL, we had the shortcut icon. Well, down here we got the Apple Touch icon compressed. It's if you're publishing through a third-party software, you may not be able to upload a mobile bookmark icon to a root folder. Okay, so what we do is we're going to have, so if I wanted to create this nice mobile icon, let's say for a website on a mobile device, then I could actually create that as well. So what I want to do is make it so an Apple Touch icon is going to be 72 by 72. Apple Touch can also be 114 by 114. So these types of icons are going to have a little more detail to them, but they're not going to be favicons. They're going to be icons that we use for a mobile device, like say an icon for our iPhone or Android device or that type of thing. So now we have to kind of think about that. So here they are. They said web clip icon sizes. An iPhone is 57 by 57. iPhone Retina is 114 by 114, an iPad is 72 by 72, and an iPad Retina is 144 by 144. Not familiar with the Retina. I don't have any iPhone or iPad devices. So again, if we can kind of see, so here's our mobile bookmarks. So here's we can see what that icon would look like. A lot of detail there. A lot of detail here. So here's a mobile Safari often uses less than great looking screenshots of what you're viewing as an icon for the home screen bookmark. So Safari basically, again, more iDevice like. They use PNGs. Okay, so PNGs are used in the mobile icons. Customizing a mobile bookmark label, we can do that through a metadata tag. So here's meta, name, Apple mobile web app, content, title here. So in place of title here, set that to whatever you need it to do. So again, you can actually include this line of code. Again, if we're doing this for an iDevice, whether it's an iPod Touch, an iPod, iPhone, whatever the case may be. It says that if this looks like a lot of code, remember that you don't need to cite all the references in HTML. So basically, here's all of the different files, folders we need. Again, here we have, now here another thing you have to do when we're creating a mobile device is link Apple Touch icon pre-compress. We'd have to have that as the REL, and then we have to tell the size of it, and then we have the actual href, which basically is the actual file itself. So now we can combine favicons and mobile devices. So here we have this. So again, it looks like we have this for each one of our Apple devices. And here we've got Apple Touch icon pre-compressed, Apple Touch icon pre-compressed. And so again, what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to have all of those different icons there, and if your device, again, if it's one of those items, if it can handle 114 by 114, it will use that one. If not, it will use the 72 by 72. If this is an Apple Touch icon pre-compressed, it will use that, so on and so forth. Notice the very last one is our shortcut icon, and here it basically has the favicon. So to do a favicon, you have to have an REL shortcut space icon. That tells the browser that that is a favicon. And then we have an actual link to wherever that favicon is stored. Again, you can actually use an HTTP and actually point to a different website to get that guy to show up. So here is an example of what a website would look like. So here we are between the head. Here's a link, Apple Touch icon pre-composed, 114, and here's the name of that icon. Apple Touch icon pre-composed, 114. I don't know what the difference there is. And then our last one is our favicon. So favicon, easiest way to do it is find a picture that's not real detailed. take it into Pixlr, reduce it down to 42. Now if you have, let's say your picture is 256 by 200, well, make sure that the side that's 256, make that a 42. You're always, I think some of the newer browsers allow 80 by 80, but 42 is probably as big as you want to go. Some of your older browsers, the highest you can go is 16 by 16, so you have to really so I would really highly suggest just sticking with 42 by 42. Again, if it's 256 by 200, make sure the 256 side is set to 42 and the other side, to be honest, I would try to get a picture that is a perfect square picture. Make sure it's 256 by 256. So if I were to do this, so I can do a right click on that and save image as, we'll call it Ferrari J. Whoop. Yeah, that's fine. And then I'm going to bring it into the online editor. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my eyedropper to capture that color, and then I'm going to grab a brush and actually wipe all of that Ferrari text out of there. And then what I'll do is I just want to grab this guy. I'm going to try to make it as square as I possibly can. I'm going to do Edit, Copy, File, New, Transparent, click on it, and there I have it. Then I'm going to click Image, Image Size, and look, it's pretty close. I'll make the 143 to 42 and click OK, and then I will save it as a PNG. Then I will go into where I just saved that. There it is. I will rename the PNG to ICO. I will then copy that. Oh, come on. I gotta get me out of the way. So copy. Then I'm going to go over to wherever that file is. And paste it in there. And then I'm going to go to the code and I'm going to add the second R there. I'm thinking this should look a little better now. So let me do a save. And now when I go over to, and I double click on this guy, yeah, that looks a lot better. That's almost recognizable as a Ferrari logo there. So pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool. Okay, so that's chapter 9. We're going to concentrate more on this chapter. We're going to concentrate more on the favicon for the final project. Don't worry about the mobile icons, but just realize that we have to make those icons smaller to fit the mobile devices. So we'll see you next time.